The message from Earth arrived on day 8 of the battle. It wasn't what Commander Tae-sung expected. Indomitable, this is Captain Dong-jun of the UHNS Typhoon. We're 3 hours out from your position with reinforcements. Earth Command sends their unofficial regards. Tae-sung felt something like hope stir in his chest. Typhoon, please confirm. How many ships are you bringing? 3 capital ships, sir, including the Typhoon herself. And we've brought some new toys that the Cravasians are really not going to like. 3 more ships meant humanity's fleet would double in size. It wasn't enough to match the Cravasian numbers, but it might be enough to survive until the Union fleet arrived. The Typhoon and her escorts dropped out of hyperspace exactly on schedule. The new arrival was impressive. A carrier-class vessel larger than the Indomitable, bristling with launch bays and weapon systems. Captain Dong-jun appeared on the communication screen, a broad-shouldered man with gray in his hair and the calm confidence of someone who'd seen 100 battles. Good to see you, Commander, Dong-jun said. Earth Command officially disavows this mission. Unofficially, they've authorized me to bring you the experimental weapons from the Mars facility. Consider it a field test. What kind of weapons? Lieutenant Daeho asked eagerly. We call them swarm drones. Remember how Earth dealt with locust plagues back in the day? We studied their behavior. Thousands of individual units operating in coordinated patterns. Then we weaponized it. Over the next hour, Dong-jun's engineering team briefed them on the new system. Small, cheap drones, thousands of them, each carrying a shaped explosive charge. They were too numerous to shoot down individually and smart enough to coordinate attacks on weak points in enemy shields. It's brutal, efficient, and terrifying, Dong-jun explained. Everything a good human weapon should be. The timing couldn't have been better. The Cravasians had been regrouping, massing their fleet for a final decisive strike. Warlord Thexrel had grown tired of the humans' hit-and-run tactics. He wanted to crush them in one overwhelming assault. Attention, human vessels. Thexrel's transmission came through. You fought bravely for primitives. But this ends now. We're bringing our entire fleet to bear. Surrender and we'll let you leave the system alive. Tae-sung responded immediately. We didn't come here to leave. We came here to stop you, and we're not done yet. Then you'll die with honor, Thexrel said, and almost sounded respectful. I'll make sure your deaths are recorded in our military histories. The brave, foolish humans who didn't know when they were beaten. History is written by the survivors, Tae-sung replied, and we're very good at surviving. The Cravasian fleet began its approach, 236 ships remaining, formed into a massive wall of firepower. They advanced slowly, maintaining formation, shields at maximum. It was the classic Union military doctrine, overwhelming force applied with methodical precision. They're going to try to crush us through sheer weight, Daeho observed. Our hit-and-run tactics won't work against a formation this tight. Then we don't run, Tae-sung said. We make them come to us, into terrain that favors us. He pulled up a map of the Velrath system. The asteroid belt. It's dense, chaotic, full of debris from the mining operations. Perfect for an ambush. Sir, flying a fleet through that belt would be suicide, the navigation officer protested. The rocks are moving too fast, the trajectory's too unpredictable. For them, yes, Tae-sung agreed. But humans have been playing in asteroid belts since we started mining the Sol system. Our reflexes are faster. Our navigation systems are built for chaos. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us. We can handle a few rocks. The plan was insane. It was dangerous. It was perfectly human. The 10 human ships, Tae-sung's original 6 survivors plus Dong-jun's 3 reinforcements, positioned themselves at the edge of the asteroid belt. They broadcast their position openly, challenging the Cravasians to follow. Thexrel took the bait. His massive fleet adjusted course, pursuing the humans into the belt. All ships scatter pattern Omega, Tae-sung ordered. Use the asteroids for cover. Let them chase us. Captain Dong-jun, prepare your swarm drones. When I give the signal, release everything. The human ships plunged into the asteroid field, their pilots navigating with a skill that bordered on supernatural. They slipped between rocks the size of cities, used gravity assists from larger asteroids to change direction without burning fuel, and generally flew like maniacs. The Cravasian fleet followed, but their larger ships couldn't match human maneuverability. They had to slow down, use their shields to bash aside smaller asteroids, and maintain careful formation to avoid collisions. That's when the humans struck. The Indomitable spun around behind a massive asteroid and opened fire with its railguns. Solid tungsten rounds, each one accelerated to impossible speeds, slammed into a Kravasian cruiser. The first volley took down its shields. The second volley punched through its hull. Captain Jiwoo's Silent Reaper appeared from nowhere, using a large asteroid's magnetic field to mask her approach. She fired a full spread of missiles at a Kravasian command ship, then vanished again before they could return fire. All across the asteroid field, human ships struck and vanished, struck and vanished. They used the terrain like Earth gorillas use jungles, making every rock and gravity well into a weapon. Their hit-and-run tactics again, one of Thexral's officers reported. But sir, we're taking significant damage. The asteroids are limiting our ability to maneuver and respond. Then use the asteroids against them, Thexral ordered. Target the larger rocks with plasma cannons. Shatter them into fragments. Fill the space with debris. It was actually a good strategy. The Kravasians began destroying asteroids, turning the belt into a cloud of deadly shrapnel. Human shields could deflect small fragments, but larger pieces were dangerous. That's when Engineer Suho proved why humanity had always been good at improvisation. He used the Forge Master's mining equipment, tractor beams designed to move asteroids to grab large rocks and accelerate them toward Kravasian ships. We're using asteroids as kinetic weapons, he reported cheerfully. Mass times velocity equals a really bad day for whoever's in the way. A 5-kilometer asteroid, accelerated by the Forge Master's tractor beams, slammed into a Kravasian battleship at thousands of kilometers per hour. The result was spectacular and devastating. Thrown above, Thexral breathed, watching the destruction. They turned a rock into a weapon. What kind of species thinks like that? One that's very motivated, Taesung replied over an open channel. The battle raged for hours. The asteroid belt became a graveyard for Kravasian ships that couldn't adapt to the chaotic environment. But the humans were taking damage too. 2 more ships had critical hits, not destroyed but badly wounded. Sir, we can't keep this up much longer, Daeho reported. Power reserves are at 30%. Ammunition is nearly depleted. Then it's time to use Captain Dongjun's surprise, Taesung said. Captain, release the swarms. The Typhoon's launch bays opened, and thousands of small drones poured out like angry insects. They formed into coordinated patterns, each swarm targeting a different Kravasian ship. The drones were too small and numerous for point defense systems to track effectively. They swarmed over Kravasian shields, probing for weak points. When they found gaps, they dove through and exploded against hulls. Individually, each drone did minimal damage, but thousands of them acting in concert could tear apart a warship. What is this madness? Thexral shouted. What kind of weapon is this? Earth has bugs that work like this, Dongjun explained over the open channel. Army ants. Individually harmless, but in groups they can strip a carcass to bone in minutes. We learned from them. The swarms devastated the Kravasian formation. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were now listing, venting atmosphere. Their hulls breached in thousands of places. But then something changed. A new signature appeared on the sensors, dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. It was massive, dwarfing even the largest Kravasian battleships. Identify that vessel, Taesung ordered. It's, oh no, Daeho said quietly. That's the Kravasian Supreme Commander's flagship, the Wrath of Empire. And sir, it's brought reinforcements. 50 more capital ships just dropped out of hyperspace. On the bridge of the Wrath of Empire, Supreme Commander Krathnox studied the tactical displays with cold eyes. He was the Kravasian Dominion's greatest military mind, the architect of 17 successful conquests. So these are the humans, Krathnox said. Warlord Thexral report. Supreme Commander, the humans have proven more challenging than anticipated. They fight without honor, use primitive weapons, and refuse to acknowledge their obvious defeat. I request permission to use orbital bombardment on Velrath Prime to break their morale. Denied, Krathnox said. We need the planet intact for colonization. Besides, I'm curious about these Deathworlders. They've impressed me. Let's see how they handle a real challenge. On the Indomitable, alarms were sounding across every system. Sir, the new Kravasian forces are moving to surround us, Daeho reported. They're cutting off our escape routes. We're not escaping, Taesung said quietly. Then louder. All ships form up on the Indomitable. Close formation. We're going to punch through their center line. Sir, that's suicide, someone protested. Maybe, Taesung agreed. But the humans had arrived, and that changed everything. For 3 days, the human fleet waged a war that the Crovasians didn't understand. It wasn't the clean, orderly combat that Union militaries practiced. It was chaos, unpredictable and vicious. Captain Jiwoo's Silent Reaper became a ghost that haunted Crovasian nightmares. The stealth ship would appear from nowhere, strike hard and vanish before shields could be raised. She destroyed communications relays, supply depots, and command ships. The Crovasians started jumping at shadows, wasting ammunition shooting at empty space. The Indomitable and its sister ships fought like Earth animals, wolves hunting in a pack. They'd feint an attack on one position, draw the Crovasian fleet into pursuit, then ambush them from an unexpected angle. They used the debris field of destroyed ships as cover, the planet's gravity well as a weapon, and their own supposed weakness as bait. They fight without honor. Warlord Thexral raged at his officers. They refuse to meet us in open battle. They hide. They run. They strike from the shadows like cowards. They're effective cowards, sir, one of his tactical officers said carefully. We've lost 47 ships in 3 days. 47 ships. The number kept growing. The humans had lost one destroyer, the Hammer of Dawn, when it got caught in a crossfire defending a refugee shelter. 200 crew died when the ship's reactor breached. The humans mourned their dead briefly, then fought harder. On the 4th day, Colonel Bora made her move. She'd been studying the Crovasian ground positions, waiting for the right moment. The Crovasians had established labor camps on Velrath Prime's surface, forcing captured Velrathi to work in weapons factories and supply depots. We're going down there, Bora announced to her Marines. Combat drop full gear. We extract as many civilians as we can and destroy everything else. The orbital drop was suicide by most military standards. They had to punch through Crovasian air defenses, survive atmospheric entry at speeds that would burn up most spacecraft, and land in the middle of enemy territory. But humans had been practicing orbital drops since the corporate wars of the 2200s. 20 drop pods launched from the Marine transport, each one a ceramic and ablative armor shell containing 8 Marines. They hit the atmosphere like meteors, the pod's exterior glowing white-hot from friction. Crovasian ground batteries opened fire, but the pods were small, fast, and erratic in their descent. 17 pods made it to the surface. 3 were destroyed, their Marines dying before they could join the fight. Bora's pod crashed into the ground outside the largest labor camp, its retro rockets firing at the last second to slow the impact. The pod doors blew off and she emerged into hell. The camp was worse than the reconnaissance images had shown. Thousands of Velrathi worked under armed guards, their bodies thin from starvation. Those who moved too slowly were beaten. Those who fell were shot. Marines, form up, Bora ordered over the tactical channel. Rules of engagement are simple. Anyone pointing a weapon at a civilian is a valid target. Everyone else gets one chance to surrender. Move out. The Crovasian guards never knew what hit them. Human Marines moved through the camp like the predators they were, silent and deadly. Their weapons made a distinctive crack-crack-crack sound. Kinetic rifles firing solid rounds that punched through Crovasian armor like paper. Within 10 minutes, the camp was secure. The Crovasian guards who survived surrendered quickly when they realized they were fighting something far more dangerous than the civilian species they'd been bullying. Everyone who can walk, follow us, Bora called out in the universal translator. We're getting you out of here. But then she saw the secondary area of the camp, the one hidden behind walls. Her tactical team breached the door and froze. Inside were hundreds of Velrathi bodies, civilians who'd been deemed too weak to work or too rebellious to control. They'd been executed and left in piles. Bora had seen war. She'd seen death. But this was different. This was systematic murder. This was evil in its purest form. Get footage of this, she ordered, her voice tight with rage. I want every second documented. I want the whole galaxy to see what the Crovasians really are. Specialist Kyung Min moved through the area, checking for survivors. She found 3 Velrathi children hiding under bodies, playing dead to survive. They were terrified, traumatized, but alive. I've got survivors, Kyung Min reported. They're just kids. Get them to the extraction point, Bora ordered. Everyone else set demolition charges. When we leave, this place burns. The footage Bora sent back to the Indomitable made its way to every ship in the human fleet. Then Dr. Hana made a decision. She encrypted the footage and sent it directly to Ambassador Murray at Union headquarters. At the Galactic Council, Mireille was still fighting her diplomatic war. The council had spent 4 days debating the appropriate response to the Velrath situation. They'd formed subcommittees and working groups. They'd drafted strongly worded condemnations. They'd done everything except actually help. Mireille stood before the High Council, her tablet in hand. "Honored representatives, I have footage from the surface of Velrath Prime. I need you to see what's really happening there." "We've seen the reports," the Theron representative said dismissively. "War is always tragic, but military intervention could escalate." "Shut up and watch," Mireille interrupted, her voice hard. She'd lost all patience with diplomatic niceties. The footage played on screens throughout the Grand Chamber. Council members from 40 species watched in silence as the images showed the labor camps, the executions, the piles of bodies. They saw Velrathi children hiding among the dead. They saw the systematic cruelty that the Crevasians called conquest. When the footage ended, the chamber was silent. "This is what you've been debating," Mireille said into that silence. "While you formed committees, this happened. While you drafted statements, 3 million Velrathi died. And my people, the violent, primitive humans you all look down on, are the only ones who tried to stop it." The Theron representative looked shaken. "We didn't know it was this bad." "You didn't want to know," Mireille corrected him. "You wanted to believe that if you talked long enough, it would resolve itself. But some problems can't be talked away. Some enemies won't listen to reason. Sometimes you have to fight. And how is that fight going?" Another representative asked. 7 human ships against the Crevasian fleet. "It's suicide." "Maybe," Mireille agreed. "But it's better than sitting here doing nothing. My people are dying up there. They're dying because they believe the Union's promise to protect those who can't protect themselves. And you're making them die alone." The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species sided with Mireille. Others accused her of warmongering. In the chaos, something unexpected happened. The Theron representative stood. "Enough," he said, his ancient voice carrying authority. "The young human is right. We have failed in our duty. I call for an immediate vote to authorize a Union peacekeeping fleet to Velrath Prime." The vote passed. Finally, after 5 days, the Union authorized military intervention, but the fleet would take 2 weeks to assemble and reach Velrath Prime. "Tell your commander," the Theron representative said to Mireille quietly. "Tell him the Union is coming. Tell him to hold on for 2 more weeks." Mireille sent the message immediately. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Commander Tae Sung read it and laughed bitterly. 2 weeks, he said to Daeho. "They want us to hold out for 2 more weeks against 300 ships." "We're down to 6 operational ships, sir," Daeho reported. "The Hammer of Dawn is gone. We've taken significant damage across the fleet. Ammunition is running low on conventional weapons." "Then we get creative," Tae Sung said. "How's Colonel Bora's ground operation going?" "Successfully extracted 2,000 civilians. They're also finding Crevasian supply depots and destroying them. The enemy is getting frustrated." On the surface, Lieutenant Yuna was piloting her fighter Valkyrie 9 in support of the marine operations. She was one of the best pilots in the human fleet, capable of maneuvers that would have killed most Union pilots through sheer G-force. But even the best pilots make mistakes. Her fighter took a hit from ground-based weapons and the engine failed. She managed to crash land relatively intact, but she was now stranded behind enemy lines on Velrath Prime. "Valkyrie 9 is down," the flight controller reported. "We're reading Lieutenant Yuna's vital signs. She's alive but trapped in enemy territory. Send a rescue team," Tae Sung ordered immediately. "Sir, we don't have the resources. Every ship we send down is needed for defense." Tae Sung closed his eyes briefly. "Another impossible decision. Send ships to rescue one pilot and risk losing more lives, or leave her behind and focus on the larger battle." On the surface, Yuna crawled out of her crashed fighter and assessed the situation. She was in the ruins of a Velrathi city, surrounded by Crevasian patrols. Her radio was damaged, ammunition was limited, and rescue was unlikely. She'd trained for this. Every human pilot knew the risks. She checked her survival kit, found her sidearm, and started moving toward what looked like a less damaged area of the city. She didn't get far before she heard voices. Velrathi voices. Civilians. Yuna found them hiding in the basement of a collapsed building, about 30 Velrathi, including children. They stared at her with fear when she entered, this predator in military gear. "I'm human," Yuna said, removing her helmet so they could see. The Velrath system materialized around them in a flash of light. For a moment there was silence on the bridge as the sensors came online. Then the displays filled with data, and that silence shattered. "Sweet Mother of Earth," Lieutenant Deho whispered. The space around Velrath Prime was a graveyard. Dozens of ships floated dead in the void, their hulls torn open and venting atmosphere. These weren't military vessels. They were civilian transports, evacuation ships, medical frigates. All of them bore the peaceful markings of the Velrathi people. "Scanning for life signs," Dr. Hana said urgently from her station. Her fingers flew across the controls. "I'm reading survivors in some of the wrecks, but their life support systems are failing." "How many Crovasian ships in system?" Commander Tae-sung asked, his voice cold and controlled. 283 capital ships, Deho reported. They're spread across 3 primary positions. Main fleet is in orbital formation around Velrath Prime. Secondary groups are hunting down evacuation vessels. On the main screen, 3 Velrathi transport ships appeared, their engines burning as they tried to flee. Behind them, a pack of Crovasian fighters closed in, firing methodically. The transports had no shields, no weapons. They were simply trying to run. "How long until those transports are destroyed?" Tae-sung demanded. 8 minutes, sir. Maybe less. All ships combat formation Delta 7. "We're going in." "Sir," one of the officers protested. "There are 12 Crovasian fighters pursuing those transports. If we reveal our position now, if we don't, 12,000 Velrathi civilians die in 8 minutes. I didn't come here to watch." Tae-sung's eyes were fixed on the screen. "Captain Jiwoo, your Silent Reaper has stealth capabilities. Get behind those fighters. Everyone else follow my lead, full burn." The Indomitable's engines roared to life, pushing the massive ship forward at a speed that would have been reckless in any normal situation. But this wasn't normal. This was war. Captain Jiwoo's corvette, the Silent Reaper, simply vanished from sensors. The stealth technology was a human innovation, borrowed from submarine warfare back on Earth. The Union had been skeptical of it, preferring their traditional long-range energy detection systems. But the Crovasians had never encountered anything like it. The Silent Reaper reappeared behind the Crovasian fighter formation without warning. Its weapons, kinetic cannons that fired solid tungsten rounds at a fraction of light speed, opened fire. 3 Crovasian fighters exploded before their pilots even knew they were under attack. "All ships, weapons free," Tae-sung ordered. The remaining human vessels dropped out of their approach trajectory and opened fire. Missiles streaked across the void, their chemical drives leaving bright trails. Railguns thundered, sending metal slugs faster than sound. These were primitive weapons by Union standards, violent and brutal and impossibly effective. The Crovasian fighters scattered in confusion. Their energy shields, designed to deflect plasma and particle beams, struggled against solid projectiles with such raw kinetic force. 2 more fighters vanished in balls of flame as nuclear-tipped missiles found their targets. "What manner of savage species are you?" A transmission came through from one of the Crovasian commanders, his voice filled with shock and disgust. Tae-sung opened a return channel. His face appeared on screens across the Crovasian fleet. "We're the ones who answered," he said simply. Then he cut the transmission. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, 11 Crovasian fighters were destroyed. 1 managed to jump away, wounded and fleeing. The 3 Velrathi transports continued their escape, their engines still burning. "Get me a channel to those transports," Tae-sung ordered. A Velrathi face appeared on screen, elderly and terrified. Are you the humans? The ones who sent the message saying you were coming?" "We're here," Tae-sung confirmed. "How many are aboard your ships?" 12,000 across 3 vessels. We're the last evacuation fleet. Everyone else," the Velrathi's voice broke. "They're all gone. 3 million dead on the surface. The cities are burning." Dr. Hana moved to Tae-sung's side. "Tell them to dock with us. We need to evacuate the wounded." Over the next hour, the human fleet worked to transfer refugees from the damaged transports to their own ships. It was cramped, uncomfortable, and utterly necessary. Colonel Bora's Marines helped organize the chaos, moving with efficiency that seemed harsh to the gentle Velrathi, but got the job done. In the medical bay, Dr. Hana and Specialist Kyung-min treated the wounded. The Velrathi were fragile creatures, their bodies built for a peaceful world with gentle gravity. Many of them had injuries that would have been minor to a human, but were life-threatening to them. A young Velrathi child, no more than 6 years old by human standards, sat on a medical bed. Her name was Lysa, the same one who had sent the original distress call. She stared at Kyungmin with huge, frightened eyes. "You're the predator species," Lisa whispered. "The Deathworlders." Kyungmin paused in her work, bandaging the child's arm. "That's what they call us, yes. Are you going to hurt us?" "No, little one," Kyungmin said gently. "We came to help you, but predators hurt prey. That's what predators do." Kyungmin finished the bandage and sat down so she was at eye level with the child. "On Earth, yes, predators hunt prey. But humans learn to be more than just predators. We learn to protect, to care, to love. The same strength we use to fight, we also use to defend." "Why?" Lisa asked. "Why would you fight for us?" "We're nothing to you." "Because someone had to," Kyungmin replied. "Because it was the right thing to do. And because on Earth we have a saying, the strong should protect the weak, not prey on them." Elsewhere in the medical bay, an elderly Velrathi named Velthar sat quietly as Dr. Hana examined his injuries. He watched the human doctor work with a mixture of fear and fascination. "You move so quickly," Velthar observed. "Everything your species does is fast and hard. Even your kindness feels aggressive." Hana smiled slightly. "Earth made us efficient. We had to be to survive. But yes, we do everything at full speed. It's who we are. I saw the way your soldiers moved. It's like hunting cats, all coiled strength and deadly grace. I've never seen anything like it." "Most Union species haven't," Hana agreed. "You all evolved on peaceful worlds. You don't know what it's like to be both predator and prey, to have to fight for every scrap of survival. And yet you use that strength for us," Velthar said quietly. "The Council told us about humans. They said you were dangerous, unpredictable, violent. They warned us to keep our distance." "They're not wrong," Hana admitted. "We are all those things. But we're also capable of great compassion. Both can be true at once." On the bridge, Lieutenant Deho was analyzing the main Kravasian fleet positions. The numbers were not good. "They've regrouped around Velrath Prime," he reported. "They know we're here now and they're taking us seriously." "I'm reading combat formations, shields at maximum, weapons charged." "Good," Taesung said. "Let them waste power maintaining full defensive posture." "How many refugees did we save?" 11,800, sir. We lost one transport. The damage was too severe, 1,000 dead. 1,000 people they couldn't save." Taesung felt the weight of those deaths on his shoulders. But they'd saved 12 times that number. It had to be enough. It had to matter. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Kravasian fleet," the communications officer announced. "It's their commander. Warlord Thexrel." A face appeared on screen. The Kravasian was a large creature, reptilian features with cold, dark eyes. He looked at Taesung with barely concealed contempt. "So these are the famous humans," Thexrel said mockingly. 7 small ships against my fleet of nearly 300. You've saved a handful of prey animals. Congratulations, it changes nothing. Velrath Prime is ours." "You've killed 3 million civilians," Taesung replied, his voice flat. "That's not war. That's murder. That's conquest," Thexrel corrected. "Something your primitive species should understand. How many wars have you fought amongst yourselves? How much blood is on human hands?" "You're right," Taesung admitted. "Humanity has done terrible things. We've killed each other over resources and beliefs and pride. We've committed atrocities we can never take back. But we learned from those mistakes. We learned that strength without honor is just tyranny." Thexrel laughed. "Honor? From Deathworlders? You're predators playing at civilization. At least I'm honest about what I am." "Then let me be honest too," Taesung said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "You've hurt people who couldn't defend themselves. You've murdered children, and now you've made it personal. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to make you regret every single civilian you killed. We're going to teach you what it means to face an enemy from a real death world. And when this is over, you're going to run home and tell your masters that Earth remembers and Earth doesn't forgive." He cut the transmission. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Deho spoke up. "Sir, I should point out that we're still heavily outnumbered." "I know," Taesung said, "which means we'd better start evening the odds. Get me attack plans for their orbital positions. And someone find out where they're keeping their ground forces. Colonel Bora is going to want targets." The crew sprang into action, preparing for the next phase of the battle. Through the viewports, Velrath Prime hung in space like a wounded jewel, its cities burning. The journey to Velrath Prime would take 3 days. 3 days while people died. 3 days that felt like an eternity to Commander Taesung as he paced the bridge of the Indomitable. But those 3 days also gave them time to prepare. Dr. Hana gathered the senior officers in the briefing room. She pulled up images of Earth on the main screen, showing the blue and green planet that had given birth to humanity. Most of you know this already, but our guests don't. She gestured to the Velrothi refugees who had sent the distress call. One of them, a young female named Lisa, sat trembling in the corner. Earth is classified by the Galactic Union as a Class 12 death world. That's the highest rating possible. Lieutenant Deho pulled up comparison data. Most Union species evolved on Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Stable climates, mild weather, gentle gravity, herbivorous fauna. Earth tried to kill us every single day, Hana continued. Predators with teeth and claws. Diseases that swept through our populations. Ice ages that froze continents. Volcanoes that darkened the sky. Earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, droughts. And we survived all of it. Lisa spoke up, her voice small. But why would anyone live on such a world? We didn't have a choice, Taesung said quietly. It was our home. So we adapted. We learned to hunt the predators. We built shelters against the storms. We created medicine for the diseases. And when all of that wasn't enough, we learned to fight each other. The Velrothi's eyes went wide. You fought your own species? For thousands of years, Taesung admitted. Wars over resources, territory, beliefs. Millions died. It was brutal and wasteful and something we're not proud of. But it taught us how to fight. Engineer Suho joined the briefing via video link from his ship. The Cravasians use standard Union military technology. Energy shields, plasma weapons, targeting systems designed for the neat, orderly battles that Union species prefer. But we don't fight neat and orderly, Deho added with a grim smile. We fight dirty. Over the next 2 days, the small human fleet prepared for battle. Engineer Suho worked around the clock, modifying their weapon systems. Human military technology had always been considered primitive by Union standards. Kinetic weapons, guns that fired solid projectiles using explosive force, missiles with chemical warheads, even nuclear weapons, which most Union species had banned as barbaric thousands of years ago. They think our weapons are crude, Suho explained to his engineering team. But crude weapons still kill, and they're not ready for them. Colonel Bora trained her Marines in the cargo bay. 200 soldiers practiced combat drills, their movements sharp and efficient. Bora was a hard woman, scarred from a dozen conflicts in Earth's corporate wars. She'd seen combat before joining the Union forces. Listen up, she barked at her troops. The Cravasians outnumber us 40-1. They have better shields, faster ships, and more firepower. They think they've already won. She paused, looking each Marine in the eye. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know what it's like to face an enemy from a death world. We evolved running from predators. Our bodies are built for endurance. Our minds are wired for violence. And when we fight, we don't stop until we win or we're dead. The Marines roared their approval. Lieutenant Deho spent his time studying everything they knew about Cravasian military tactics. The data wasn't encouraging. The Cravasians had conquered 17 star systems in the past 50 years. They used overwhelming force, striking hard and fast against civilian targets to break morale. They target the weak first, Deho explained to Taesung. Evacuation ships, medical facilities, schools. They want the population terrified and broken before they even negotiate surrender. That won't work on us, Taesung said. No, sir. But we need to understand their psychology. They're bullies. They expect resistance to crumble quickly. When it doesn't, they get frustrated, angry. That's when they make mistakes. On the third day, Dr. Hana was treating Lisa in the medical bay. The young Velrothi still flinched whenever someone moved too quickly near her. I don't understand your species, Lisa said quietly. You're so intense. Everything you do is hard and fast. Even the way you walk looks like you're hunting something. Hana smiled gently. We are intense. Earth made us that way. But that intensity isn't just for fighting. We love intensely too. We form bonds quickly, fiercely. When we call someone friend, we mean it with everything we are. Is that why you came? Lisa asked. For friends you've never met? We came because it was the right thing to do, Hana replied. But yes, also because we refuse to let bullies hurt people who can't defend themselves. Earth taught us that strength should protect the weak, not prey on them. That evening, Taesung received another message from Earth Command. This time it wasn't an order to return. It was a status update. 3 more ships were being dispatched from Earth itself. They wouldn't arrive for another week, but they were coming. Earth stands with you, the message read. Make them remember what it means to provoke Deathworlders. Taesung allowed himself a small smile. Earth Command might officially disapprove, but unofficially they understood. They were sending backup. At Union headquarters, Ambassador Mirai was fighting her own battle. The High Council had finally convened, 70 hours after the initial distress call. Representatives from 40 species filled the grand chamber, each one speaking in measured, diplomatic tones about appropriate responses and measured interventions. 3 million Velrathi are already dead, Mirai stated, her voice cutting through the polite chatter. How many more will die while we debate? An elderly representative from the Theron Collective, one of the oldest species in the Union, regarded her with barely concealed disdain. Young species always want to rush into violence. We elder races learned long ago that patience and diplomacy save more lives. Your patience is letting people die right now, Mirai shot back. And your humans' recklessness may start a wider war, the Theron replied coldly. Mirai stood, her hands flat on the table. My humans, as you call them, are the only ones actually doing anything. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't form committees. They heard people screaming for help and they answered. Maybe that makes us reckless. Maybe that makes us young and stupid. But at least we can look ourselves in the mirror. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species agreed with Mirai. Others were outraged by humanity's unauthorized action. In the chaos, no decisions were made. No fleets were authorized. Mirai left the chamber and immediately sent a message to Tai Sung. They're still talking. You're on your own. Make it count. Aboard the Indomitable, the fleet was 6 hours from dropping out of hyperspace at Velreth Prime. Tai Sung gathered his captains for one final briefing. We go in fast and loud, he explained. The Crovasians will expect us to position ourselves for a formal battle. Instead, we hit them where they're weakest, pull back, hit them somewhere else. We keep moving, keep them confused. Classic guerrilla tactics, Captain Jiwoo noted approvingly. They'll call it dishonorable, Taesung said. They'll call us barbarians and savages. Let them, Colonel Bora growled. As long as they're too dead to keep killing civilians, I don't care what they call us. The countdown began. 3 hours. 2 hours. 1 hour. Taesung stood on the bridge, watching the timer tick down. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. These were good people, brave people. They were about to face impossible odds, and not one of them had hesitated. 30 seconds to real space, the navigation officer announced. All weapons charged, sir, Daeho reported. Shields at maximum. All ships report ready. Then let's show them what Deathworlders can do, Taesung said. Jump. The stars snapped back into focus and hell awaited them. The signal came through at Oro 300 hours, cutting through the silence of the night shift like a knife. Commander Taesung was in his quarters aboard the UHNS Indomitable when his communication device started screaming. He grabbed it, his trained reflexes sharp even after being woken from deep sleep. Commander, you need to hear this. Lieutenant Daeho's voice was tight with tension. Taesung was on the bridge in less than 2 minutes. The main screen showed a visual feed that made his blood run cold. A small, delicate creature with pale blue skin and large, terrified eyes stared out at them. Behind the alien, fires burned and structures collapsed. The sound of explosions rattled through the speakers. Please, anyone who can hear this, the alien's voice trembled. This is Velrath Prime. We are under attack. The Crovasian Dominion has broken through our orbital defenses. They are killing everyone. Our children. Please, we have no weapons, no military. We need help, please. The transmission cut to static, then looped back to the beginning. How long has this been broadcasting? Taesung asked. 40 minutes, sir, Daeho replied. It's going out on all Galactic Union emergency channels. And the Union's response? Daeho's jaw tightened. They've acknowledged receipt and formed an emergency committee to discuss the situation. Taesung felt anger rise in his chest. A committee. While people died, the mighty Galactic Union was forming a committee. He'd been part of the Union for 12 years now, and he still couldn't understand how these ancient civilizations had survived so long. They talked endlessly about everything. They had protocols for protocols. Get me Earth Command, Taesung ordered, and plot a course to Velrath Prime, full speed. Sir, we haven't received authorization to... I don't care about authorization. Plot the course. On the main screen, the Velrathi alien's plea continued to loop. Behind the speaker, Taesung could now see smaller figures, children huddling in the corners. His decision was already made. Dr. Hana arrived on the bridge, her tablet in hand. I've been researching the Velrathi. They're a peaceful species. They've never had a military in their entire history. They create art, write philosophy, study the stars. They've been part of the Union for over 3,000 years. And in 3,000 years no one taught them how to defend themselves? Taesung asked bitterly. The Union guaranteed their protection, Hana said quietly. They trusted that guarantee. The communications officer interrupted. Commander, I have Ambassador Mireille on the line from Union headquarters. Mireille's face appeared on a smaller screen. She looked exhausted. Taesung, I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. How can I not? The Union has procedures. There will be a vote in the High Council within the next 72 hours. A peacekeeping force will be authorized in 72 hours? Taesung couldn't keep the disgust from his voice. How many will be dead by then? Mireille's expression was pained. I know. I've been arguing with them for the past hour. But if you move without authorization, it will damage Earth's standing in the Union. We're still the newcomers here. We can't afford to. I can afford to look at myself in the mirror, Taesung interrupted. Can they? He ended the transmission. Around him, his bridge crew watched, waiting for orders. These were good people, all of them. They'd signed up to serve humanity, but they'd also signed up for something bigger. They'd joined the Union forces believing they would protect the innocent. Daeho, how many human ships can we gather on the way to Velrath Prime? The tactical officer's fingers flew across his console. The destroyer Hammer of Dawn is 2 hours from our position. The frigates Silent Reaper and Storm Chaser are 4 hours out. If we send the word, we could have 7 ships total converging on the Velrath system. 7 ships? Taesung repeated. Against what kind of force? Intelligence suggests the Crevasians have deployed approximately 300 vessels for the invasion, sir. The bridge went silent. 300 against 7. The math was brutal. Sir, one of the younger officers spoke up, her voice uncertain. Those aren't good odds. Taesung looked at the screen where the Velrathi plea continued to play. In the background, a child was crying. The sound reminded him of his own daughter back on Earth. She was safe, protected by billions of fellow humans and a military that had evolved through thousands of years of conflict. These Velrathi children had no one. No, he agreed. They're terrible odds. For the Crevasians. A ripple of nervous laughter went through the bridge. They don't know what we are yet. Taesung continued. They don't know what it means to come from Earth. They think because we're new to the Union, we're weak. They're about to learn differently. He pulled up the fleet-wide communication channel. This is Commander Taesung of the Indomitable to all human vessels in sectors 7 through 12. We have received a distress call from Velrath Prime. A civilian population is being massacred while the Union debates. We are responding immediately. This is not an authorized mission. Any captain who joins us may face consequences from Union command. But I'm going. Anyone who believes in what we swore to protect, follow me. Within 10 minutes, 6 other ships had confirmed they were changing course to join him. Their captains appeared on the communication screen one by one. Captain Jiwoo of the Silent Reaper, a stealth corvette. Captain Suho of the engineering vessel Forgemaster. Colonel Bora and her marine transport. Others he'd served with trusted. The Union may count the cost, Taesung told them. We count the lives. Velrath Prime is 3 days away at maximum speed. I want weapons ready, shields charged, and combat plans prepared. We're going to war. As the Indomitable's engines powered up to full thrust, Hana moved to stand beside Taesung's command chair. Do you know what the other species call us? She asked quietly. Deathworlders, Taesung replied. They think it's an insult. Maybe it's time we showed them it's a promise, Hana said. On the view screen, the stars stretched into lines as they entered faster than light speed. Behind them, 6 more human ships followed. Ahead of them, 300 enemy vessels waited. The message from Earth Command came through within the hour. Return immediately. Unauthorized military action. Court-martial proceedings will begin upon your return. Taesung deleted it without reading it aloud to the crew. They had more important things to do. They had promises to keep.